So my goal tonight is to give as much information as I can to you so you go home feeling like you're well equipped with what's going on in your state legislature, what I have done in the state legislature representing you in Austin. We have our Sheriff, Ron Hickman, and Sheriff Hickman is going to give you an update and visit with you briefly, and our Constable, Mark Herman, and he's going to give you an update. And so we've got a lot of territory to cover. We've got some folks coming in. If you feel like you're going to have a question, you don't have a white recipe card, raise your hand up real high. Gail will hand that to you. Gail, there's some over here. So let's go ahead and get started. Our legislative session was busy this last session. Every legislative session is busy. Here in Texas, we have what we call a citizen legislature. Because you see, we are in session every odd year for 5 months. And then we come home. Unlike Washington, D.C., I come home and I live under the laws that I help pass. So everything that affects you directly, that affects you, your home, your family, your business, affects me the same way. It not only affects me, but it affects my husband, our children, our 10 grandchildren, my 92-year-old mother, and our business. That is what a citizen legislature is all about. So I am very cautious and I am very careful in representing you, because I know that unintended consequences can occur. Now, one of the main things that we have had a battle, and it has been a battle royal, is low-income housing apartment projects. We have been successful. I've been in office for 14 years. And in that time, developers see that this area, District 150, has land. At one time it was relatively inexpensive land. Now the price is going up. And they could come in from California, New York, or even here in Texas and throw up a low-income apartment housing project and fill it up, fill their pockets full of money, head back to California, and then leave us with all of the issues. And that has happened before I came into the legislature. After coming into the legislature, this is something that I just said, this is something that the people have to be able to have a voice as to what comes into their area like this. Now, anybody we're free. We have a free market here in the United States. Anybody can come in, you can come in, buy a piece of land, and if you want to put up an apartment project, you're free to do that. But if you go through Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs, and you want the tax-free bonds and the money that goes with that and the perks that go with that, then you enter into a bidding process. These developers have to go through this bidding process. And the way they are judged in that bidding process is on a point system. And in that point system, it's like a football game or any game. Whoever has the most points wins. So the one tool that you have and the way that your voice is heard when you find out that someone is wanting to come in and build a low-income housing apartment project next to your neighborhood, by law, they have to contact me, your state rep. Because you see, we live in the unincorporated area, as you well know, of Harris County. We have no mayor and we have no city council. And so they contact me. I talk to the citizens. Most of the time I already know that you're not going to be in favor of it, but I talk to some of the citizens, and if it's a thumbs down, which I figure it would be, then I write a negative letter. That negative letter has negative points that deducts and takes points away. And quite frankly, they cannot recover from that. I have averaged killing 6 to 10 of those a year. Can you imagine what our area would look like had I not had the tools to do that? Now, I'm kind of getting into some details and some minutiae here, but it's important for you to know the details of this so that you know the battles that I have to fight in Austin for you, because it doesn't just happen. Session before last, I literally had to declare war on the Senate. Some of you have heard this story already. For those of you that have heard the story, bear with me, because I think those of you that have not, you need to be aware of it for your property values, for your way of life, and for our town or our area. The Senate had a bill that was authored by Senator Birdwell. I'm a very conservative Republican, and he is too, but we disagreed on this. And it was to remove the points from the Senate so that the Senate would no longer have a voice in any developer coming in wanting to build a low-income housing project. They also, in that bill, were going to take away the points from the state representatives. That would have rendered you without a voice, and it would have rendered me without a voice. Your voice is my voice, and we're neighbors. We all live in the same area. Now, our county commissioner would have had 3 points, but our county commissioner, as wonderful as he is, has 1.2, nearly 1.3 million constituents. So I am the closest thing to you to where you can pick up the phone and call me directly and have your voice heard on this issue. I talked to Senator Birdwell. He would not back down. He would not back up. We got all the way to the end of session, and nothing I was doing with him was working. Nobody on the Senate was giving us any help. Nobody on the Senate side was giving any help at all. So we have what is called a calendars committee and a local and consent calendars committee. All bills passed have to go to the floor of the House and are voted on through either the calendars committee, putting them onto the floor, or the local and consent. The local and consent is just that. Those are the bills that are very, very local, or there's no debate on. And the very last local and consent bills that were to be heard for that session, which wasn't this last one, it was the one before that, were the Senate bills. And Gail, I don't remember how many bills were on that. Shelton, do you remember, was it like 200?
Yes.
Around 200 Senate bills. And I went to the Speaker of the House and I told him that this is a problem. I cannot allow this to occur. It will destroy my district. And I said, Mr. Speaker, I won't let it happen. And what I'm going to do tomorrow is I will go to the back mic, and because debates are held at the front and back mic on the floor of the House, and I said, according to the rules, all I have to do is talk 10 minutes per bill, and that bill is permanently dead, and it cannot be resurrected until the following session. And trust me, I can talk 10 minutes per bill on 200 bills. I'm not going to show you tonight how I can do it, but nevertheless, trust me, I can do it. And he said, that's crazy. And I said, nuttier the fruitcake you're looking at. When it comes to my district, all 10 of my grandchildren live in District 150. And I refuse to allow the district to be destroyed over greed and put not only my grandchildren at risk, but all the other children, all of your grandchildren at risk, and children. And so I went to that back mic, and I'm going to tell you, these are the facts. I had 4 allies. Patricia Marlis, State Representative Patricia Marlis, female Republican. I had Sylvester Turner, a black Democrat, Harold Dutton, a black Democrat, and Symphonia Thompson, a black Democrat. Those four were my allies. While I was at that back mic, and I did not talk 10 minutes on each bill and kill it immediately, because everybody knows that when you kill the hostages, you have no negotiating power. So I took those bills hostage one by one and pushed them to the end of the calendar and kept doing that and kept doing that, giving time for my four colleagues to go to the Senate side and visit with them in a very serious way, letting them know that those bills of theirs, and these are bills like MUDs and PUDs, and you can't build a subdivision without a MUD. I mean, these are important bills. And I started with bird bills, with his, and then his friends. And so, just about 5 minutes, and that took time to do all that. And so, about 5 minutes before I knew we were going to start on, those bills that I had hostage, start killing those bills. They came back and they said, Senator Birdwell is ready to negotiate. I said, my district is not up for negotiation. I said, the points must stay. So I did make a speech at the back mic. I said, Senator Birdwell is willing to back off, and he, I believe, is a man of his word. And so this is what happened. So we came to an agreement on it. We have 8 points. We did have 12, but 8, that is still veto power. Because quite frankly, these developers win their bids only by a very narrow margin. I've never seen it go all the way up to 2 points. So 8 points is basically veto power. This last session, because they knew that this issue just makes me crazy. We had another battle, but it was different. And they came in kind of in the dark of night with a bill from the Senate that had a 2-sentence amendment on it that would have guaranteed a minimum of 1 low-income apartment housing project in this area per year. I caught it. It was not necessarily easy to catch, but I have this heat sensing mechanism on anything regarding this issue. And and what it was going to do, it wasn't going to deduct my point or eliminate my points, it was going to neutralize them. And they had a young new state representative from the Dallas area, and her area is a high poverty area. Our area is an affluent area. It is a low poverty area. Hers said that additional points would be given for high poverty areas and low poverty areas. I went to her and I said, why do you want that money going to my district? She said, I don't. And I explained to her, this is what you've got. I said, so here's the deal. I'm willing to let your amendment go as long as we take out the part that affects my district. That additional points would be given to a low poverty area or affluent area, and she agreed to it. It was either that or kill it. And so that is a major issue that we have. Shelton, and before we get to our sheriff and our constable over here to give an update, and we've got a lot of other things that we're going to be covering, so we're going to be going at hyper speed tonight. But this is such an important issue for you, for your property values, for your schools, for your emergency services. Because when these come in, this affects everything. It affects your property values, it affects your schools, it affects your way of life, it affects crime, peace, security, that kind of thing. And so, Shelton, would you come up, and I would like you to share in a very real way how the other members of the House, and I think possibly Senate as well, respond regarding this issue now, because we've taken such a strong stand with it.
Well, what happened in response to Representative Riddle's work 2 sessions ago is that this last session, it was obvious to the entire legislature that they needed to work with Representative Riddle. on this issue, and they needed to come to the table, and so we really, our office really worked with a lot of different offices who all had bills on low-income housing, and we were able to work with so many different offices and have say in this policy area in a very significant way, which wouldn't have happened if she hadn't done her hard work 2 sessions ago. So it really changed the game in a big way.
And you might also share just a minute about the Supreme Court, briefly, about the Supreme Court.
Okay. One of the newsworthy items that is relevant right now to low-income housing policy is that the U.S. Supreme Court has just ruled partially on the disparate impact of state regulation and state laws and how the Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs apportions and distributes low-income housing across the state. So what the U.S. Supreme Court said that it matters to the U.S. Supreme Court if there is a disparate impact, whether it is intentional or not. And that's a big deal. So now the Supreme Court has sent this major case. It's TDHCA versus ICP. It's the integrated, I'm going to get that wrong, it's the ICP Incorporated, a nonprofit pro-housing organization. And they brought suit against the Texas Department of Housing. That suit has been remanded to the district court, but with the direction to the district court that says we need to, Texas law will need to take into account how it creates a disparate impact on the distribution of housing. And the disparate impact means is that, and that's what ICP was their case was that state law and the regulation of state law is such that more housing is going into low-income areas and not into high-income areas. And the crux of the state's case was that, well, if that is not the intent of the law, that's not a problem. Well, the Supreme Court said you can no longer use that as a reasoning for a certain statute. So it's going to change the game a little bit, but we are waiting on, because now the district court is essentially retrying the case. And that's a lot of technical information to take in, but essentially the Supreme Court said whether it's intentional or not, the way housing gets distributed matters, and the disparate impact matters. And that the district court is now having to kind of retry that case. So that's what we're going to be keeping a close eye on, and really watching that real closely.
Thank you, Sheldon. One quick thing I'd like to add. Some have said, well, for the low income or for those that need affordable housing, what would you do? Well, first of all, it's really not needed because we've got plenty of apartment projects and houses, rentals and that kind of thing. But if someone builds an apartment project, just regular, like if you went out building and you got HUD to assist, like if you get FHA to help you with your loan, then they require a certain percentage of your apartment units to be used for affordable leasing, if you will, for the low-income housing. I think that is a lot gentler and gives more dignity to the people. Because quite frankly, the people in that apartment complex, they don't know. They're just all in there. And especially for the children. I'm a grandmother of 10. And in our family, we love kids. And anytime you've got a low-income housing apartment projects, the kids all know. And so the kids are bad about making fun of the kids that live in the projects. Well, if you don't have that and everybody's kind of in the apartments, then that really doesn't happen. And so I think it's a kinder and gentler way to handle that. It may not make mega millionaires out of some of the developers with your money, but nevertheless, I think it's a better way to go.